So today I want to talk a little bit about Amari Rodgers. Obviously with Randall Cobb now in the mix, I think it sort of changes things a little bit for Amari Rodgers now that a guy who basically plays his position is back on the Packers, and you have a guy in Randall Cobb who has built such a strong relationship with Aaron Rodgers. I do think it's going to be a little bit tougher for Amari Rodgers to put up the numbers that maybe he would have put up if Randall Cobb wasn't now on this Packers roster. But I want to go through a few different things about Amari Rodgers, sort of how he could look in this 2021 season, even with Randall Cobb there. And then also this morning, Matt Lafleur did have a press conference basically talking a little bit about Amari Rodgers and what we can sort of expect from him. So I want to go through that as well. But if you guys are new here and you haven't yet subscribed, feel free to subscribe down below. I put out Packers content almost every single day. So if you're into that, hit the little subscribe button down below. So with the Packers coming in and drafting Amari Rodgers in the third round this season, I think lots of Packers fans are pretty excited just because anytime Aaron Rodgers gets a new weapon, why would we not be excited? And having a guy in Amari Rodgers who's, a solid slot receiver, which I think was, the position the Packers really, needed to bolster a little bit for this 2021 season. I thought it was a smart pick, and overall, I love the pick, and I thought it made lots of sense. Because obviously, we got Davante Adams, we have Allen Lazard, MVS, but we just didn't really have that kind of fast slot guy. And Amari Rodgers is exactly that. He's like 5'9", 210. And the thing about him is he's built more like a running back. He's got some pretty big legs. He's a pretty solid dude, because when being 5'9", also being 210 pounds, obviously you got to be, a little bit sturdy. So I think that, sort of looking at how good he was in college, especially at Clemson, it definitely makes me excited for the potential he has on the Packers in the coming years. And if we take a look at some of his stats here from his time at Clemson, 2020, 77 receptions, 1,020 yards, 7 TDs. 2019, 30 receptions, 426 yards, 4 TDs. 2018, 55 receptions, 575 yards, 4 TDs. And obviously having Trevor Lawrence there helped him a ton. But if you haven't seen Amari Rodgers' highlight tape, I suggest you go check it out on YouTube, because you'll sort of just see how talented he is, how athletic he is, how good he is, when he gets the balls on screens and all of those kinds of things. And so, now with Randall Cobb in the mix, I definitely think from a standpoint of just Amari Rodgers' production, I think it's going to take a hit as to what it would have been without adding Randall Cobb, because, now with Cobb in the mix, it definitely is going to take away from Amari Rodgers' snaps a little bit. Maybe in the long run it's beneficial just because Amari Rodgers has someone to look up to, someone to learn from, and as we've talked about, a guy who basically has been mentoring him for a long time. So I think there are, pros, lots of pros with Randall Cobb coming in for Amari Rodgers, but I do think, for just his stats, if you're playing fantasy football, I think definitely he takes a hit with Randall Cobb coming in here to Green Bay. So one thing I want to take a look at is a quote from Matt Lafleur from this morning on Amari Rodgers. This is what he had to say. He said, "Amari has been around the game for a long time. You can tell he's a coach's kid. He's got a great feel and sense of what's going on. He really works at it. He studies really hard. We've thrown a lot at him. We're not holding back in terms of we've got him in a few different roles, but primarily he will be more in the slot, and we'll use him doing some of the jet sweep stuff and whatnot. I'm excited about where he could go." So, for Amari Rodgers and this Packers offense, Matt Lafleur, loves to do all those motions. I'm pretty sure the Packers were 6th last season when it came to pre-snap motions. I read that in Warren Sharp's this football analytic book that he put out the past couple weeks. So Matt Lafleur loves to run those little, pre-snap motions, and I think Amari Rodgers could be the guy that gets lots of that work, as Matt Lafleur did mention that in his interview earlier this morning. And because he is sort of built like a running back, maybe we'll see him in the backfield a little bit. He's basically that guy in this offense who can be that sort of gadget guy. Last season we saw Tyler Ervin. The Packers sort of used him a little bit like that, but then he did go down with some injuries. And then we brought in Tavon Austin later in the season, maybe a guy who could do similar things. So now with Amari Rodgers in the mix, even with Randall Cobb here, I think the Packers are going to, use him a lot in that role, jet sweeps, maybe some screens, maybe in the backfield. He can sort of do it all. Plus you add the fact that he is a great receiver. He's great at getting separation. I think there's so many things to love about Amari Rodgers. And if Randall Cobb wasn't going to be here this season, man, I'd probably want to pick up Amari Rodgers on my fantasy team. I actually have a fantasy draft in like 4 hours. 4 hours from right now. So I've been studying. I got my fantasy list here. I don't even know if Amari Rodgers is on these rankings that I printed out. Just because there's so many snaps to go around in Green Bay, or so many snaps or so many balls to be thrown. And, the Packers have so many receivers outside of Davante Adams. I don't see that big of a difference, between Allen Lazard, MVS, Amari Rodgers, Randall Cobb. I think there's going to be a lot to go around. And so I'm just not sure how efficient or how much, I guess how many targets Amari Rodgers is going to get with Randall Cobb there, because who knows what the Packers are going to do. Are they going to split, not carries, their wide receivers? Are they going to split, snaps in the slot between Randall Cobb and Amari Rodgers? Will they give Amari Rodgers more snaps? We don't really know, and we'll have to wait and see what happens in this season. So definitely I'm excited to see what Amari Rodgers can do and excited to see, what he can do for the future. But also with Randall Cobb, sort of talking about this, I might make a video later on Randall Cobb specifically. But one thing that I do love about this Randall Cobb addition, which, hurts Amari Rodgers just from a production, stat standpoint for the season, is right here. I found this from PFF. They posted this little graphic here. So here is the best QB wide receiver passer rating since 2010. As you can see, Rodgers and Nelson at the top, as they should be, 132.7. Then Brady and Gronkowski, they're in a tight end. Then Wilson and Lockett, Breeze and Michael Thomas. And then down here, fifth. We have Rodgers and Randall Cobb. So when Rodgers has targeted Randall Cobb, he's a 115.3 rating. So obviously, Rodgers and Cobb have an electric connection. And even though Randall Cobb isn't the player he once was because he has gotten older, I still think that connection is going to pay dividends for the Packers, probably later in the season especially. Because imagine we come into a playoff game, we're in an intense situation. Would you rather have Amari Rodgers, a rookie in there, or Randall Cobb, a veteran? I mean, that could be debated, but just in those crucial key moments, I think to have a guy that Rodgers has so much history with, so much chemistry with, I think that's sort of a benefit that Randall Cobb really brings to, the Packers wide receiver room. Just his connection with Aaron Rodgers, which I think is going to be pretty important. But also, Randall Cobb is going to, I think, do a lot when it comes to helping Amari Rodgers' development. But those are sort of my thoughts on what I think we could see possibly from Amari Rodgers. Obviously, Randall Cobb in the mix changes things a lot for him, but I think he has a great future ahead of him in the NFL, especially, if Aaron Rodgers stays around for the next few seasons and Amari Rodgers stays around. I think they could, do a lot of good stuff together. So that's pretty much all I wanted to break down. Thank you for watching as always. Subscribe if you guys want to see, more Packers content. I put out Packers news, analysis, all that kind of stuff. So thank you for watching as always, and I'll see you guys on the next video.